We have some news right now. Mayor Muriel Bowser of Washington, D.C. just came out and blasted Donald Trump and his administration for placing the National Guard in Washington, D.C. and essentially invoking the Home Rule Act, federalizing the D.C. police. She says that she can speak for all Americans when she says that it is illegal to use the military against American citizens on American soil. She went on to say that she will be working every single day to ensure that all law enforcement are properly identified throughout the city, that she will work to make sure that this is not an unmitigated disaster. And essentially she was saying that this shouldn't be a surprise for folks who have listened to the rhetoric coming from this president over the last 7 months, but over the last 8 years as well. So she is standing strong, saying that, it might be time to have more of a discussion about DC statehood. I'll provide you more updates as we get them, but essentially Bowser is saying that she hasn't got much information from the White House. She doesn't know much else other than what we know. So we'll see what happens next. Follow along for more.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening, and they've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly. And you people are victims of it, too. You're reporters, and I understand a lot of you tend to be on the liberal side, but you don't want to get mugged and raped and shot and killed. And you all know people and friends of yours that happened. And so you can be anything you want, but you want to have safety in the streets. You want to be able to leave your apartment or your house where you live and feel safe and go into a store to buy a newspaper or buy something. And you don't have that now.
So 1,000 National Guard people are now going to D.C. as well as enforcing a curfew. This is straight out of Project 2025's playbook, and we should be terrified. He started in L.A., he's going to D.C., he will do this to every major American city. Wake the fuck up. And I find it funny that all of a sudden Trump can deploy the National Guard in D.C. Where the fuck was that on January 6th? Where the fuck was that on January 6th?
Trump is planning to clean up D.C. by getting rid of the homeless and incarcerating the criminals. In a new Truth Social post, Trump says, "I'm going to make our capital safer and more beautiful than it ever was before. The homeless have to move out immediately. We will give you places to stay." Yeah, right. But far from the capital. The criminals, you don't have to move out. We're going to put you in jail where you belong. It's all going to happen very fast, just like the border. We went from millions pouring in to zero in the last few months. You want me to believe that Donald Trump, the president who signed the executive order that pushes local governments to remove unhoused people from the streets, is just going to give them a place to live far away from the Capitol? The same executive order that Jesse Rabinowitz, campaign and communication director at National Homeless Law Center, says would set the stage for rounding up folks who are homeless, folks with mental health issues, folks who are disabled, and instead of helping them, forcing them into detention camps and institutions? Nah, I ain't buying it. I'm not going to tell you that I know what the president plans to do with these homeless people, but I highly doubt it's give them a place to live. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments. As always, follow for more, share the news. Fuzz and Captain out.
Donald Trump has just announced that the National Guard will be coming into Washington, D.C., and that he will be taking over the Washington, D.C. police because, quote, "we're going to take our capital back." This is going on during a press conference, which is still going on at this very moment. Trump is still taking questions, but this is what we know. Donald Trump says that he's going to be taking over Washington, D.C. under direct federal control using what's called the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. This act was created in 1973, and it gave Washington, D.C. a degree of self-government for the first time in over a century, because prior to that, it really was the government who had control. And Trump says that this is all necessary because, quote, Washington, D.C. has been taken over by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals, as well as drugged out maniacs and homeless people. He later added that we're getting rid of the slums too, adding, I know it's not politically correct. No, we're getting rid of the slums where they live. Folks, this story is still breaking right now. He's still answering questions. I'll be sure to keep you updated, so please do share my videos and follow me for more.
If you don't live in DC, you would think that, damn, DC is like he said, giving Baghdad or something, but it's not. It's not at all. Yes, we have issues like any other inner city.
Trump does not care about DC's safety. He cares about control. And what we know from history is that authoritarians always want to control the capital and the people in the capital city. It's because it's the fastest way to silence dissent and to accelerate their agenda.
Black people are more likely to be stopped, searched, questioned, arrested, and harmed in encounters with the law. When we add the presence of federal agents or the National Guard to daily life in these neighborhoods, the burden can multiply. Black Washingtonians have long recognized that community violence cannot be solved through state violence.
I used to do street outreach in the very parks Trump is targeting. People lived in these parks not because they wanted to, but because housing is too expensive and shelters are full or downright disgusting. These folks, like most homeless people in D.C., are D.C. natives or have deep ties to the district. They are our neighbors.
Here's the dirty secret about D.C. and Donald Trump sitting in the feds. A friend of his was carjacked and killed over a year ago, right in the same place where they opened a Hechinger Mall in Southeast, where 20 kids went in and trashed the place and took so much of the goods out and put them on the street. Not only that, the Navy Yard is so populated with these thugs, these criminals. You've got to do something. You got to get law and order in the city. You got to make these kids realize you got to be accountable and responsible for your actions. If you believe there are no consequences, this is exactly what will continue. They're looting, they're stealing, they're carjacking, they're car theft. It's all over the place. The mayor should thank the president for sending in the feds. Long overdue. I'm Armstrong Williams.
We have some news right now. I'm here right in front of the White House minutes after Donald Trump announced a federal takeover of Washington, D.C. and a mobilization of the National Guard. Let me show you what it kind of looks like right now. So behind me right here, there is a protest growing right now. I would say there's a few hundred people there, but that's expected to grow even larger. There really isn't much of a police presence just yet. There's some officers around, but nothing too crazy. Now here, right in front of the White House, it's relatively quiet. No National Guard presence, no military presence at all. Very little law enforcement, no more than usual. Here's the thing, DC crime rate, violent crime rate, has fallen to a 30-year low. This is being done to distract the public from the actual news that's happening right now in the United States of America and the scandals the president is currently involved with. The moment I see National Guardsmen on the ground, I will let you know. I'm going to be filming all day, so spread the word, subscribe to my Substack at the link in my bio to support my work, and follow along for all the news you need to know about. Right now, quiet, massive protest brewing. We'll see what happens.
So let me get this straight, because I'm so tired. The Trump administration is saying that the streets of Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, are less safe than the streets in Baghdad. And that is why the National Guard needs to be sent to rein in crime. When crime has been at its lowest in our nation's capital. I've lived in Washington, D.C. now for the last 5 years. And to say that it's less safe than the streets of Baghdad is asinine and beyond false. What world is this guy living in? Folks, this is fundamentally how dictatorships are created. He says he wants to beautify the city. What, in his image? Paint the streets with gold? Put up Trump statues all over the place? This is the type of stuff that comes from dictators. He wants all the homeless people gone and he's going to have the National Guard round them up. But the crazy thing is, just a couple of years ago, you had people storming our nation's capital, threatening the life of the Speaker of the House, the Vice President of the United States of America. And Donald Trump refused to call in the National Guard for hours, was at the White House watching it all take place. But now you want to call in the National Guard to round up homeless people and to get rid of this crime that's worse than the streets of Baghdad? Give me a break.
Hey guys, happening in San Francisco today, the legal battle between Governor Gavin Newsom and President Donald Trump continues in a federal courtroom. At issue, the deployment of National Guard troops to Los Angeles over protests after immigration raids ramped up in the city and across the state back in June. The Trump administration has maintained that the deployment of troops did not violate any law, specifically the Posse Comitatus Act, because the troops were not engaged in local law enforcement. Now, the governor has argued otherwise and says that the president has violated his authority by sending the troops to begin with. There are about 250 National Guard troops still left in LA. That number is down significantly from the 4,000 troops that were originally sent in June. Now, this all comes as just this morning, President Trump says he will send National Guard troops to the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., to help fight crime.